Good morning. You are listening to Florida Commercial Real Estate Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. I will have a co-host, Jerry Anderson, CCIM from Sperry Van Ness, Commercial Real Estate Advisors in Palm Beach County, Florida, will be calling in today. Through the power of this internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on svn.com as Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate Advisors in Florida are the sponsors of this program. Additionally, the show will be posted on youtube.com. We're going to be talking about commercial real estate, different commercial real estate markets across the country, across the state of Florida. We've got a lot of topics today. Hopefully we will have Jerry Anderson giving us a call soon. He is really the head of all the Sperry Van Ness real estate brokers in Florida, which there are about, I think there's 90 plus of them. There are about 18 different offices, and let me tell you about those offices. It is Fort Walton Beach, Panama City, Destin, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Ocala, New Smyrna Beach, many more. We'll get back to that, but we have a caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Jerry Anderson calling.
Well, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. I enjoyed your previous segment. I was listening there about the Jackson downtown excitement. That was a good session.
Well, he is a great interview, and I want to thank him for being on the show. And you are our basically co-host of this program, and tell us what you do, if you would.
Well, Doug, I am what we call an executive director. Actually, I'm an entrepreneur. All it really means is I own the master license for Sperry Van Ness in the state of Florida. Jim Morgan, who we heard from recently, and a few of the other folks on previous shows, have offices around the state. My responsibility is to help coordinate and choreograph and make sure that we are visible to the industry and help some of those inflow transactions that Jim was talking about from other SVN agents and companies around the country. So that's what I do on a daily basis. Yes, sir. I work with commercial real estate companies that are independently owned and operated within Sperry Van Ness. And as you know from my background, I've been in the industry a long time, so it's been a lot of fun watching the industry evolve over these last couple of years because it has really changed.
And yet, when you and I talk offline, you kind of told me that you think the commercial real estate business model is broken. What do you mean by that, Jerry?
Well, I do think the business model is broken. And I want to share a couple of reasons why I believe that. Now,
okay.
For those listeners that own their own real estate company, it's not going to be anything new to them. But think about our industry, Doug. You're close enough to it. You know this. We've had musical chairs going on lately, the last couple of years. Certainly 2009 really cleansed the industry a bit. And when I mean cleansed it, it's that companies that were living deal to deal, agents that were living deal to deal, are no longer in the business. It just was too tough. I mean, by some standards, listen to this statistic.
Okay.
In 2009, as an industry, our revenues plummeted 80 to 90%. Now, imagine running a business. Imagine running your business that you're in.
Right.
On 80% of what you made. I'm not talking net. I'm talking gross the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry really changed, and it is, I think it is broken. And here's why I say some of these things. Think about this. GVA Advantis, which was a very strong regional firm just a few years ago, completely closed their doors. I mean, they just closed up shop. Grubb & Ellis, a name that has been in the industry forever, went through bankruptcy, ended up being absorbed for pennies on the dollar by now the new company, which is called Newmark Grubb Knight Frank. That's a New York firm, and they're expanding and if you will, buying for pennies on the dollars companies that have gone bankrupt, commercial real estate companies. And we're talking about now in a market that's pretty doggone strong, Doug, or at least vibrant.
Right.
We see a company by the name of Cassidy Turley, which is a brand new company, which is really nothing more than a conglomerate of individual companies that got tired of trying to do it on their own and said, you know what, collectively, we need to put all of our resources together because collectively none of us are really making any money. Possibly collectively we can. And then we saw NAI, which is one of the largest networks in the world, sucked up by a special servicer, purchased by a special servicer. All of these changes point to something, in my opinion, that our industry is broken. And let me just give you a couple other thoughts. I know you put me on my soapbox here, so
I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you.
All right, here's what I think's wrong with the industry and why I say it's broken. First of all, it's completely commission-based, right?
Yeah.
In other words, if there's not a deal, then there's no commission paid.
Right.
So everybody involved in it, from the companies to the agent, are typically involved in it for revenue only if a transaction happens. Now, the way those transaction happens, and I'm talking about the brokerage side. I'm not talking about consulting right now. I'm not talking about property management fees, which come in on an ongoing basis. I'm talking about the brokerage component. A broker receives a commission and then pays the agents in his office, those that were involved. So, first of all, there's a whole moral conflict that goes on with that. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
All right.
The company, the agent, if they're the listing agent, they make double the amount of money if they're also the selling agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the attorney representing both the plaintiff and the defendant on the same lawsuit.
I got it.
I mean,
Yep.
So here we are, a commission-based revenue model. We make twice as much when we double end the deal.
Mm-hmm.
We make half as much when we don't.
Right.
But here's where it gets conflicted. Many times, what is in the best interest of a client is not. It doesn't pay the highest fee. In other words, I know of a scenario, and I see it all the time, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the clients that are listening to this. This is going to rile you up. But I know that brokers will say, if I can get the buyer myself, if I can double end this deal, if I can jam this offer, my offer, from a buyer that I found down the seller's throat, I make twice as much money. Now, human nature is human nature.
Yep.
I know that we often talk about, well, we always do what's in the best interest of somebody else. We're going to do what's in the best interest of the client. But when your family is starving, when you have a mortgage payment due, you have a car payment due, you're trying to accumulate cash to buy a house for your family, and you're faced with that moral dilemma of doing what's best for somebody you may not work with again, or double-ending the deal. And when I say doing what's best, getting the highest offer, it puts a real burden of morality on the person involved. And the other thing that happens is, the agents, Doug, they want the highest split possible.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They say, I want 80% split. I want a 90% split of the commission because, you don't do anything for me. I do all the work. That's what they tell their broker. But the company, meanwhile, is struggling to bring money to the bottom line. And I'm going to give you some statistics later. But
Okay.
that's why I say the whole industry is broken. We're conflicted. The clients get conflicted. I mean, they don't want to pay for any services until a deal closes. You can't blame them for that, right?
I understand that. I would like to go back just a little bit further on the conflict where a real estate agent, commercial real estate agent might say, if I can double dip this, I've got twice as much income. So to really stretch it out a little bit, I'm a commercial real estate broker, and I just got a listing. So, first of all, I go and talk to my clients in my area, and then see if I can make that deal. And you're saying that's not in the best interest of the client. What you're saying is you should tell the world about it immediately so that the world knows about it, so there'll be more competition, more involvement by the buying arena, so that your client might get a better deal. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Now, here's part of the dilemma. You have those, you're the listing agent.
Yep.
You know buyers that want that product.
Yep.
You also have sort of the inside track to the seller.
Yep.
And that's okay. I mean, look, in the state of Florida, it's called a transaction broker. We have every right legally to represent, if you will, the transaction, that versus either side.
Yes.
But and we have to disclose that, and we do so, and that's not a problem. What I have a problem with is that agent who doesn't let the property hit the market, so nobody else knows about it. I know of companies that, and I'm not naming them.
No names. No names.
No. Trust me. You don't brighten your own light bulb by dimming somebody else's.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but I know there are other companies.
Yep.
And help us, Lord, if this ever happens within SVN, because it would be a violation of our core covenant if this were to happen. But there are companies that say, we know every buyer there is in the world. If they're not in our database, they don't exist. That's just malarkey. I mean, it's just not true. So you have to, for the benefit of the person of the owner that is saying to you, I place my confidence in you, you market my property, get me the highest price you can by the best performing buyer. You have to go out to the world with that. You simply have to. It's the right thing to do.
Well, I agree with you. And I know Sperry Van Ness, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. You guys have been around for a while, and that has been your mantra and whatever mission statement since really day one, I think, is that you weren't going to sit on a listing. You were going to let the world know. You were going to encourage other real estate firms, other brokers to get involved because you thought that would be, the firm thought that would be the best plan for the client. And, I applaud you for it.
Well, it's not, and I appreciate that. But you have to understand, it's not always easy. Our business model is very, very fragile. First of all, clients think they way overpay for fees. They think fees are way too high. Commission.
Yep.
And commissions are negotiable. They can be, whatever the broker agrees to with the seller or the landlord. That's a negotiable item. There's no set fees in the real estate industry. I sometimes get upset when I hear real estate folks, whether on the residential side or the commercial side, they talk about the standard fee. There's no standard fee. There is no standard fee, period. Negotiate on it. Period. Plain and simple. Now, you do have to make sure you motivate the agents that could be a co-broker, so if you do have to go out there at some market rate that's going to attract attention, otherwise, as an owner, you're doing yourself a disservice. But the agents, on the other hand, think they do way too much work for free. And quite frankly, they do. That is the nature of a contingent financial model. So with this very fragile business model in place, it's hard sometimes, Doug, to always adhere to what we talk about, and that's the reason it is a core covenant of Sperry Van Ness. I know a company, this company tried to hire me, and listen to this. You talk about conflicted. This company tried to hire me as a manager. This is not too many years. Well, it's probably about 10 years ago now, but the policy is still in place. And they were very proud of the policy that part of my bonus program would be attached to how many deals my agents in my office double-ended. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that? Now, that's conflicted in my mind, where I get a bonus to double-end deals as a manager. I get a bonus to encourage the agents not to expose the property to the world to try to find the very best offer out there.
Well,
that's wrong.
I agree. However, I have sat on the other side as a manager of a real estate firm, and I will tell you, as a manager, I'm thrilled for a couple of reasons. I'm thrilled when we get a listing, and I'm also thrilled that somebody else in my group, I had 60 agents at one time, and this was residential, so it's a little bit different, but I was thrilled when, again, the term double dipped, so that I, as a manager, brought in 2 fees. I, as a manager, could praise 2 people in my group for doing a good job. And then on the other side, I want my people to work together. I want them to know about everybody's listing. And so I guess I could feel the conflict, but I also know that at least in residential, as soon as we get a listing, it's out to the world. It is out to the world. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. And it's just not the same thing in the commercial field. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have no central source of information. We don't have an MLS. But let me clarify one thing.
Okay.
I'm not talking about another agent representing or bringing another buyer. I'm talking about the same person.
Okay.
I'm talking about an agent that has the listing says, I know just who the buyer is. It's a very closed group. They don't even tell the other agents in the office. Your description, as a manager, I would be thrilled to have, Fred Smith have the listing and have Susie Jones bring the buyer as the manager of that office. I agree. I agree. But there's a couple of other things I want to talk about in terms of the industry being broken.
All right.
And it has to do with the profitability of the company. And the 2008, 2009, even 2010 were absolutely brutal. And you don't have to look any further than the public companies. The 2 largest, most efficient public commercial real estate companies in the world, most people would agree, are CBRE and Jones Lang LaSalle, or JLL. Now, the beauty of those 2 large companies is they're public companies. So anybody can go in and look at their net income or their EBITDA. The 2 largest, the 2 biggest, the 2 most profitable that are out there, they make 12%, 10% plus or minus to the bottom line. That's what they make, right? So I mentioned earlier the conflict that companies and agents have over their split. I'm of the opinion that if you own a commercial real estate company, you deserve to have offices with a lot of marble and a lot of desks and a lot of space.
Yep.
They have data costs. They pay close to $10,000 a month for data subscriptions.
Ouch.
They have, I know. They have a couple of marketing people on the payroll. And yet, when they pay for all of that, what they've done is they very slowly over the years kept giving the agents more and more because the agent said, I want to hire a splitter, I'm leaving. I want to hire a splitter, I'm leaving. So the company says, oh, no, you've been here a long time, you're a good, solid producer, we don't want you to leave. Next thing you know, they look in the mirror, they find themselves, the company's not making any money, and the agents are sitting there at 70, 80% splits. Makes no sense whatsoever. So I said earlier, it's a fragile industry, and I believe it is broken. And I think companies need to look at ways to deliver services that their agents can use, tools, services, resources, that they don't have to pay $10,000 a month for data. This is a commercial. I mean, those are part of the resources that a company like Sperry Van Ness delivers. Mm-hmm. And our competitors, some of our competitors deliver that too. But you really have to think like a company owner. So many folks don't pay attention to those assets, and they will continue to give the agents a high split, even though they have, as a commercial real estate owner, they have no profitability at all. And then it's a fragile business model in a market that swings, and when you add those two together, that spells struggle.
Well, you already mentioned a couple firms that went belly up or had to merge with someone else, and so I understand that. And it's just not real estate; it's any business. I mean, you can't give away the farm to your employees. I'd say you're going to go under, and then no one's going to be happy. So I get that. Tell us, Jerry, what is one thing that a client should be concerned about when they're going out after a commercial real estate broker agent to list with them, and about commissions, and give me your thoughts on that.
Well, the commission discussion is sometimes thought to be a taboo discussion, and I don't think it should be.
Okay.
I don't think it should be. I think that the client, and I can refer to a number of bank clients, institutions where we have numerous properties of theirs listed. We confront it right on. We say, okay, this listing, I'll use these as examples. Again, this commission I'm about to mention is not a standard. It could be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I won't even mention it. I'll do it another way.
Okay.
Typically what we will do with an institution when the commission discussion comes up is they will say the following. Look, we really want you to market this. We hear you saying that you're going to take it to market immediately, but we want you to turn over every single rock, find any buyer there is. And I can prove statistically, Doug, that 51% of the agents in this country work for an individual independent firm. So if you don't take it out to the marketplace, via the market vehicles that we have, whether it's LoopNet or all the other syndication websites, if you don't expose it to them immediately, you're missing half the market for your client.
Yep.
And what the banks have said is, look, we understand that if this listing agent also sells the property, that they're going to make more money, but we don't want that to happen at our expense. And again, we openly discuss this.
Mm-hmm.
So what the banks and the institutions that we're working with now will say is, you know what, the fee, if you do it yourself, if it's double-ended, as we've been referring to in our discussion,
Yep.
if it's double-ended, it's 1% less. And that works. That works for the client.
Mm-hmm.
So the client wins because they get a little extra sales proceeds. I'm talking mostly about sales now.
Right.
Which could also pertain to leasing. So
interesting stuff.
Works. Yep.
Interesting stuff. You've got an auction coming up. Auction Point has an auction coming up, but you're very involved in it. Tell me about that, because it's coming up soon.
Yes, it is coming up. The bidding starts at the end of May, and the bidding is for assets. It's like a candy store of commercial real estate. AuctionPoint.com. Close to 200 assets. AuctionPoint.com. You have only about 2 weeks left for your due diligence, and then the bidding begins at the last week of May. So take a look at AuctionPoint.com. We are involved. Our auction team, of which I'm a part of, is part of that event, as well as a number of other brokers are on the event committee from the industry. We have representatives from Cushman & Wakefield, McGrubb & Ellis, and Lee & Associates, and others that participate. So it's quite the event, an industry event for brokers by brokers.
Which is very different. It's a new industry look, to be honest. I had not seen that in a long time, so kudos. And aren't you the chairman of this group, which must be difficult, challenging and inspiring, but probably a little difficult?
Well, you'd be surprised. We have 100 brokers involved in this event from every single company you can imagine, large and small, throughout the industry, from the biggest to the smallest. I am the event chairman. I'm very honored to chair the event. It's been a lot of fun, and we're having a great time, and there are a lot of buyers looking at these assets. Many of the assets are even being purchased prior to the auction because the buyers do not want to bid against somebody else. So if you're listening, take a look. AuctionPoint.com.
Well, that is a wonderful thing. The different properties, are there Is there any range of value? Can you give us that? I mean, are they all small properties? Are they all big properties? What's the range?
We have properties on there that the starting bid is as low as $1,000.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. And then, of course, there are also some properties in there where the starting bid is $8 million. So
Okay.
it's quite the range. But all product types. There's even some international assets in there that are pretty interesting as well.
And so it's auctionpoint.com. Can you spell that out for us, please?
Auction, AUCTION, point, and there is no E on point.com.
Got it. Well, that's wonderful. Jerry, very interesting discussion. Tell us how people can reach you.
You can reach me. The easiest way is email, jerry.anderson at SVN. S is in Sierra, V is in Victor, N is in November.com.
Very good. Jerry, thank you so much for being on the show. You are a great co-host. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend.
Good day.
Bye-bye now. All right. That was Jerry Anderson. He is the co-host of the program, also basically the executive director of the entire Sperry Van Ness Florida team, which there's 18 to 20 offices. I want to thank him for being on the show. Also want to thank Jim Morgan for being on the show. Again, this is sponsored by Sperry Van Ness, Florida. Thank you all for listening, and have a wonderful weekend. Take care.